Well, hello there, HW here. Thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. My buddy Desi Serna recently brought over a PRS Silver Sky, and man, I gotta tell you, this thing is really impressive. We did a little bit of an old-fashioned shootout. We sat down, we talked about the guitar, we hung out, and these are some of our first impressions after playing the guitar for about an hour. Check it out.
You know, I've had a lot of people try this guitar out, including a lot of skeptics, and they were just completely silenced.
Yeah,
they just, even though they didn't want to love it, when they felt this neck and they played it and they heard it, they just could not find any fault in it.
Right. I gotta say, it sounds every bit as good as everything we put it up against. It sounds, all guitars sound a little different from each other, but these pickups sound incredible. And if you don't like that PRS made a guitar like this, that's one thing. If you don't like a color that it comes in, that's another thing. But I can't find one thing wrong with this. Not one.
No, I'm glad they made it, because I love Strat style guitars. I love the vintage sound, but I love the build quality of PRS. And I always thought, because they've made some different single coil guitars,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
they just weren't the same. They didn't sound the same. They didn't feel the same. They just didn't have that mojo.
Totally.
They worked well for some things. They're still good guitars.
Yeah.
But I always wondered. I just thought, man, with their build quality, they could knock something like this out of the park. So that you don't have to go play 100 strats to try to find one, or you don't have to, spend all this time swapping out parts and everything trying to modify your Strat. I just always thought they should be able to knock it out of the park, and they did.
It's a 7 1/4, right? And that's the thing people have been talking about. You know, is that too much? Can you bend on it? What can you bend on it? And you can, because the frets are right. We didn't fret this thing out once. And
are we still on here? It's all there. I mean, you can do Joe Walsh bends. What else do you do?
Right. And you know, it's funny. You can reference any classic song or classic band, and probably if it was a Strat, it was probably recorded on an instrument that was a 7 1/4 radius to begin with. So obviously, it can do the bends, but it sounds killer. We put this thing against a custom shop Strat and your Bluesman Vintage Strat,
which are both excellent guitars.
Excellent killer guitars. Can you just play the bridge and then go to the neck and so we can hear that kind of, it's totally balanced. Like the bridge is bright and clear and the neck has fatness, but it's not. the gold Strat that we've been playing is my personal Strat. I paid a lot of money for it, more than I probably thought I'd ever spend on a guitar. But it's a killer guitar, and I have to tell you, after playing that and some other custom shop Strats that I've played over the years, you know,
here's the thing. That is a fantastic Strat. I love it too.
Yeah.
But if you did not own either of these, and you had a choice between this at 20, is it $22.99,
yeah,
and whatever you paid for that, you don't have to mention that. So you know, what would you really feel that you should pay? Was it twice as much about?
It's somewhere. It's not twice as much. Mine's a team built. The master builds would be more than twice as much, for sure. But
the only reason why you would spend that much is because it had to have the Fender name on it, and you had to say that you bought a.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a killer finish. It's super cool. I dig the pickups and everything, you know, but I would say this is every bit as good quality as the Fender custom shop stuff that I've played. Yeah. At a price that used custom shop stuff goes for. This guitar is retailing new, you know what I mean? These are both aged. This is a Journeyman relic. This looks about a similar amount of relicing. You know, there's not too many dings.
Right. I mean, a lot of John Scott's Bluesman vintage guitars. I mean, they look really beat up. Because that's what most people want.
Yeah.
They want to have that look and be extremely relict, and he does a great job. And so that's one thing you're not going to get from this. You're not going to get something that looks vintage and road worn, which is very appealing to a lot of people. They're like, man, if it's going to sound vintage and feel vintage, I want it to look vintage because I'm going to put on my hippest vintage studs.
Yeah, right.
I want to look old school on stage, and this doesn't look old school.
And I think with the bird inlays and the sort of flat matte, steel gray here, and the truss rod cover, it's a pretty clear. Even with the knobs, which kind of have a more almost like, I don't know, futuristic Art Deco sort of like, kind of construction to them. I think they're clearly signaling this is a modern take on this style instrument. You know, it's not trying to. I wouldn't hold my breath for a relict one. Not from PRS.
No,
that's not going to do that. Right?
They do have some really cool guitars that have kind of an old vibe, like the Starla.
Yeah, absolutely.
I recently played a Starla. I thought it was fantastic. Really kind of cool look. But so that might be the one.
Sure. Yeah, and
determining factor for some players who are like, man, it's not the look of it isn't their vibe.
you, but I think the Silver Sky sounds absolutely fantastic. And I'll tell you, after putting my hands on one and playing one, it plays and is built and it sounds every bit as good as anything else out there. This is not just a good guitar for the price. This is not just a good guitar for the first attempt that PRS has made at a 3 single coil guitar. This is a great guitar compared to anything at any price point you can put it against. So much so that you may notice this is not the one that we were playing earlier. After playing that red one, I went out and bought myself one because they're that good. They really are exceptional. The build quality is great, and I'm gonna have another video, a full review on this thing coming up on the channel real shortly. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm gonna let Desi play us out. Thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. And by the way, if you're interested in learning how to play a little bit more like Desi Serna, who is a fantastic player, if you're still watching this video, you haven't thrown away your instrument and quit out of frustration by now, I highly recommend you look in the links below. Check out Desi Serna's guitar tuition website and system. Hell of a guitar player, hell of a teacher. I really recommend you check out his stuff. All right, HW, out.